and one reactive monitoring point, which is acceptable. Again, it should have been answered in a slightly better way, but it is acceptable. Okay, next is the risk assessment. Adequacy of current risk assessment. Are the current risk assessment adequate? No, they're not adequate. The written risk assessments were found to be too general and do not reflect the actual risk in the warehouse. Therefore, no proper control measures put in place, such as pedestrians. Da, da, da. Now, again, here he needed to mention 2 points, whereas he's only mentioned 1 point. Okay, so he will get 1 mark here. So in order to get full marks, you need to mention 2 points. The written risk assessments were found to be too generic and do not reflect the actual risks in the workplace. Okay, now let's look at the scenario again and see what other point we can find. Okay, you have discussed with the inspector improvement in health and safety, proposed solution with barriers, pedestrian accessway, conditions. Okay, this is something you can include there as well. Yes, you can say this. The existing risk assessment is not suitable because it did not consider the segregation of pedestrians and vehicles, which can result in accidents taking place. So basically here you need to refer to element number 3, guys. In element number 3, we discussed about suitable and sufficient risk assessment. So suitable and sufficient risk assessment is a risk assessment which identifies all these significant hazards and the significant controls. This control measure of segregation of pedestrians and vehicles, this is a significant control measure which should be in place. Okay, so the existing risk assessment is not suitable and sufficient because this control measure was not specified in there. Next question. Let's go to the next question again. Operational procedures and rules. Okay, so let's see what operational procedure and rules is mentioned. The operation procedure and rules have not been implemented as often there are objects. Yes, that is correct. You can say that. This is well defined. But again, there is 1 point here. It needs to be 2 points in order to get 2 full marks. Yes, you can say vulnerable people were not covered. Very well said, Alita Latabasi. You can also say in the risk assessment question here that the vulnerable groups of people were not covered in the risk assessment, as there is no mention of that in the scenario. Hence, we can say that it is not suitable and sufficient. Here, the operational procedures have not been implemented. Why? Because the workers are not storing objects properly, and they're storing it in the walkways. Also, you can split this and pedestrian segregation as well. So he could have split this into 2 points as well. So he's mentioned that the procedure is not being followed as objects are being stored in the walkways and pedestrian segregation is not available. Here he's mentioned 2 points. What is the next one? Part number 4, compliance with legal requirements. Okay. There are a lot of incidents and those incidents have not been investigated, which is a non-compliance of the legal requirement, as the Abu Dhabi law requires all incidents. It's not only Abu Dhabi the law, it's as the law. You can say generic as well, because all legal requirements, they mandate that you have to report all incidents that have to be reported and investigated. Okay, so there are a lot of incidents and those incidents have not been investigated, which is a non-compliance of legal requirement, as the law requires that all incidents should be not reported, it should be investigated. So you need to investigate all incidents. This is a legal requirement. Another legal requirement is that workers' complaints need to be addressed, and here workers' complaints are not being addressed no worker representatives, which is also non-compliance of the occupational health and safety law. Okay, not being. Okay, so these are 2 points here. Again, they will get you decent marks. And then finally, part B of question number 10. Based on the evidence from this scenario, only what sources of benchmarking information could be used? Okay, so based on the scenario, we can send benchmarking by checking the difference in the sickness absence ratio of the worker. Yes, because in the scenario it is mentioned that the sickness and absence rate is very high. Okay, so if we use this information from the scenario, we can set it as a benchmark. So we can measure the sickness and absence ratio from the previous year and set it as a benchmark for the next year. The second thing is staff turnover can also be, yes, that is also a valid point. You can use the staff turnover as it can be benchmarked. In addition, we can use the number of workers' complaints. Yes, we can use the worker complaints as well for benchmarking. So this was it, guys. So this is how the gentleman has answered. So here he has given the document reference source of information as the course notes, hsc.gov.uk, OSHAD, ILO website, OSHAD code of practice. So this is the sources of information that have been used. And finally, he is also given the word count, which is 2351 here. So here you can see the word count is 2351. Okay, but here you see it is 2691. Now what's the difference here? Please note that this form already has 317 words, excluding the text and footers. You can deduct from your total amount if you are using your word processor's word count function. Okay, so the word processor is showing us over here at the bottom of the word file 2691 words. Now we need to subtract 317 words which are already in the format. So let's do this. Where is the calculator? So total words as per word is 2691. We minus 317, 317 equals to 2374. So there are some extra words which I type it today. So 2374, this is the word count. Okay. So guys, this is how you need to answer the template which we have discussed, the first, what you call it, a mock exam. Now the mock exams, I'll share some more mock exams with you so you can practice.